but know that Jiaoju found a kindred spirit in me. I'll send you the link to my blog later. Remember I talked about the blog? Although that might have been in the future, because this is a flashback. Anyway. Hello everybody, and welcome back to Apollo Justice! I'm glad we left off on this line, so we all got to remind ourselves that, Sweet P-Boy, he's, well, he likes to find out how big the little hole gets. You know, I feel like that's just something we should all keep in mind for this whole series, and I think most of the fans do. I think there's a good amount of, like, damn, this lawyer has so much sexual tension with every single masculine-presenting person he interacts with that isn't, like, Dr. Hottie or fucking Salmonella. Anyway, how y'all doing? I'm doing alright. I've a bit of a busy day. But we try and get these things done. I couldn't really do Friday too much, so I'm sorry about getting this video out late. But instead of waffling on, why don't we get on with it? Let's do it.
Detective Gumshoe, please take this newfound fact into account as you continue your testimony.
What was the fact? What if he shot the clown? He still shot the victim, pal. He still shot the victim, pal. What have we got? Do we have... how many bullets? This fires one real bullet. Haha. Okay, well, we're gonna press this and then we'll come back and present. So, let me get this straight. You're saying my client first shot the clown, then shot the victim? Hey, not a bad summary, pal. More of a confirmation than a summary, but whatever. That was really more of a confirmation than a summary. What's our defense attorney seems pleased enough with himself? Do these people ever miss a chance to mark me? Well, now that Mr. Hyde's gotten that out of his system, shall we continue with the testimony? I didn't have time to gather all the details before coming in here. This testimony might be my only source of information. Better pay attention and read this letter carefully. Okay. We're gonna do a savey wavy real quick. Just a quick savey wavy. Alright. Objection! The trickiest cases often seem the simplest. Prosecutor Gavin, you missed the bullet hole in the clown's forehead. If you hadn't missed that, you might have come to a very different conclusion. Understand? Yeah, but like I just said, pal. After he shot the clown in the forehead, he went and, Objection! Did nothing of the sort to the victim. The pistol proves he could not.
Murder weapon? How?
It's quite simple, Your Honor. This pistol only holds one bullet at a time.
Ah.
If he had shot the clown in the forehead, he couldn't have shot the victim too!
Yeah!
That's not a contradiction! Not even close! All he had to do was reload the pistol after the first shot! Objection! Oh? Where did he get the extra bullet? They're not so easy to come by, you know. If you claim the defendant had one ready, then prove to us how he got it! Ugh. I had the feelings this wasn't over yet. No, this party's just getting started. And I haven't proven anything yet, beyond my good looks and startling record sales. And utter lack of humility.
Ah, what's this? It seems that the prosecution has another witness prepared.
Like I said, Detective, was just a warm-up act.
Oh.
Now that the audience has gotten a taste of what's to come, they're ready. Ready for what? For my decisive witness, of course. A witness who, you will find, can prove one thing for us. That it was Zach Grammy who shot the victim in the forehead!
Very well. We'll pause for a 15-minute recess.
This might be my lucky break. I'll need that 15 minutes to talk to my client, Zach.
Court is adjourned.
Oh wow, I really ended the episode at the wrong time before, didn't I? I should have just kept going. Oh well. Alrighty, let's keep going. April 19th, 11:21 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 2.
Very impressive, Mr. Wright. I have to say, I expected nothing less.
We've only just begun. I was hoping you could tell me a bit more about what happened, actually.
I do not think you would believe me if I told you. Better that you discovered the truth for yourself. I was thinking of you, you know.
I think we need less thinking and more talking. That night in the hospital, what really happened?
The way your eyes gleam, Mr. Wright. You're scared, Trilogy.
Speaking of which, where is she?
You have seen the problem yourself. The letter.
The one shot in the forehead, right?
Yes, and the reason he speaks of. I could not deny my mentor's wishes, even if it meant my own death.
Why not?
This is something I will not say for now. At least.
What's this for now business?
I've done many things in my life. Some well, some poorly. But this is a cross we must bear alone to our graves.
We?
You wanted to know about the night of the incident.
Finally. This guy sure likes to take his time getting to the important stuff.
Of course, I had no intention of shooting my mentor. I snuck into his room that night at the appointed time, and found there upon his bedside table 2 pistols.
2?
Yes, the one I had used on stage, and the one that had been used by my partner, Valant.
Oh, for the Zack and Valance quick draw thing?
My mentor had the look of one sleeping. I stood by his bedside, hearing only the light sound of his breathing. Then I took the pistol into my hand. I cannot deny that my resolve faltered then, for a moment.
You faltered? You mean you thought about shooting him?
Recall, there was a reason I could not refuse his request. His last such request, though not his first.
So, there were other requests you couldn't refuse before?
To be honest, I've not always been steadfast, and I fear I've brought pain upon Trilogy.
Was Magnifi coercing his disciples somehow? Just what was going on in Troop Grammary?
Yet, in the end, I did not shoot him. Instead, I turned and shot the clown! I took the pistol I had fired and placed it in my pocket.
In your pocket?
I believe if you examine the bullet in the clown's head, you will find it to be different than the one in my mentor. What were those called?
Rifling marks.
Yes. Well, that is all I have to say to you concerning the case.
Concerning the case? You mean there's something else you can tell me?
You are a fascinating man, Mr. Wright.
Thanks?
Yes, there is something. My mentor. His eyes opened.
What? Magnifi Grammary?
The old devil. He was not asleep, you see. Of course, the gunshot would have woken him anyway. And there we had our last discussion as mentor and pupil. It was not a long discussion, maybe 5-10 minutes or so.
What did you talk about?
Haha, Mr. Wright, did I not just tell you? Does not concern this case.
Zack Grammary. He seems pretty steadfast to me. Or maybe just stubborn. Mr. Wright, your presence is requested in the courtroom.
Once again, I am in your hands.
Right. Let's get back in there. April 19th, 11:37 a.m. District Court, Courtroom Number 7.
Court is now back in session.
During our last recess, a bullet was found and dug out from the clown's head.
Well, this is news. And the rifling marks?
There wasn't time to do a detailed analysis. So they did find that the weapon type matches the Verda weapon.
Well, that's not very conclusive, is it?
Which is why I'm about to call my very decisive witness. Your decisive witness? How many times have I heard those words? Though they often turn out to be far less decisive than you think. Oh, don't worry on my account. I'm quite confident this witness will do the job. After all, he is intimately acquainted with the players in our little production. Being the other half of 2 Grammys' famous duo, Zack and Valent. Val and Grammary. So, we get to meet the great Magnifi's other disciple. Oh my god, where's your mustache? Perhaps we'll start by asking your name and occupation, and why you have not considered adding a fabulous mustache to your repertoire. It would maybe make you seem quite more mysterious. Maybe you could twirl it at the end, get a little mustache wax. You know, I haven't thought about it too much, but maybe you could. Okay, anyway, name and occupation.
Valent Grammary, magician. And you're the decisive witness, are you? You can prove your fellow student your partner's guilt? Fate, the grand illusion, filled with traps and tricks.
Wait, the shooting took place in that hospital after 11 o'clock that night. If you're a witness, does that mean you were there that late?
If one were to deduce this logically, the conclusion is yes.
Okay. I always get the characters, don't I? I have an interesting fact for you. You see, several days before the crime, my witness received this.
That looks very familiar.
Wait! That's the same letter Zack Grammary received!
Yes, or perhaps I should say, ta-da! Order! And what does it say? Surely not the same thing.
Perhaps you should see for yourself.
Why, it's practically the same. The court accepts this into evidence.
Magnifi's second letter added to the court record.
This is most unusual. Exactly what was going on with you folks? What exactly was your troop Grammary up to?
By which you mean?
I'm just having trouble envisioning a man who would ask his students to kill him. Both of them, no less.
It's just my opinion, Herr Judge. But from these letters, I'd say he was coercing them, not asking them.
We walked the magician's path together, and in so doing shared much of our lives. When people are so close, there is strain. A warping of relations, you might say. Yet this has nothing to do with the case at hand.
By which you mean you're not gonna tell us. Which makes me wonder even more about this reason they couldn't refuse.
Well, let's get on with the testimony for starters. The defendant, Zack Grammary, stands accused. Tell us why. Oh, I'll do more than that. For where he walks, the red roses rise, singing hymns to the miracle that is magic.
Fascinating. Though I hardly need to remind you that the evidence could just as clearly point to you as the suspect. The letter, the murder weapon, and now the 2 bullets found at the scene.
In fact, the only difference seems to be the designated time. As every magician knows, timing is everything.
Yes. And now it's time to get this party fired up. Quick water break. I find when I don't have to voice, like, the characters with a high-pitched voice, I don't have to, like, cough a million times just to get through a sentence, which is good.
That night, I visited the hospital room at the time Magnifi requested. The smell of gunpowder hung in the room. My mentor had taken his final bow. I did not imagine my fellow student might have received the same instructions. Yet a deal with the dead is still a deal. Death's sweet kiss I gave to the clown. Then I informed the doctor and the police. So you were the one who reported the crime. Indeed, I would think. This fact alone would clear my name of suspicion.
Let's not jump to any conclusions.
Yes, the cross-examination generally comes before the conclusions in this court. But if your testimony proves to be true, then the defendant, Zach Grammary, is guilty.
And if it wasn't Zach Grammary, then the killer was you, Valent. And no disappearing act will get you out of that. Let's go! Which, according to the letter, was 11:20 p.m.
Indeed. In magic, timing is everything.
Right.
Consider the illusion of teleportation. If I were to appear on stage before my stunt double has left, how would that look? Why, it would reveal the very secrets of my magic!
Now that you've revealed the very secrets of your magic for us all, let's move on. You went at the designated time, and what did you see? So, you weren't worried for your own safety at all? I mean, you smelled gunpowder, yes? What if the shooter was still nearby?
I did not consider this, to be honest. It is forbidden for a magician to have a good imagination.
Really? Isn't magic all about illusions and imagination? How about this? You were the shooter, which is why you weren't afraid.
Now you are the one imagining. It is forbidden for a lawyer to have a good imagination. The witness will refrain from pausing so suspiciously before responding. My forbidden imagination is starting to imagine things.
Which brings us back to this reason neither of you could refuse.
So it does. And my partner, he did not refuse.
But Magnifi wrote the same thing to you. Why could you refuse if Zach couldn't?
Because I have a will of steel! Of course. I also do this trick where I bend steel bars, so perhaps steel isn't all so strong.
Oh my god. Woo! Just as I talk about coughing. Woo! Oh. Woo! Okay. I might have to lighten up a little bit. Oh, excuse me. On frickin' Valent's deep voice, because it is hurting my throat. So which is it?
Mind if I continue?
There are 2 bullet holes at the scene. One in the victim and one in the clown. You're saying the one who shot the clown was you?
No doubt my partner Zach had said much the same thing.
Yeah, because whoever didn't shoot the clown committed murder. I better dig around here a little more and see what I turn up. Mr. Valent, let me ask about something else concerning the crime scene. Namely, how many pistols were there when you entered the room?
By which you mean what, precisely?
2 pistols were used in the Zach and Valent quick-draw shoot-'em, correct? One for each of you.
You are well informed, yet only one of my old friends sat in the hospital room that night.
What did Zach tell me back in the lobby?
Of course, I had no intention of shooting my mentor. I snuck into his room that night at the appointed time, and found there upon his bedside table 2 pistols. I took the pistol I had fired and placed it in my pocket. I see no problem with that statement. Only 1 pistol is visible in the photograph of the crime scene, after all.
So you picked up that pistol and fired it?
Indeed I did.
Alakazam, alakazing, alakaboom.
Is the number of pistols really so important?
I honestly don't think it is at this point. Let me just talk about the other thing. Hold on. Matches barrel marks, match bullet found in victim. Yeah, okay. The number of pistols is quite important, Your Honor.
Very well. Please add this detail to your testimony.
What can I do but obey? Only one pistol was in the hospital room that night, and with it I shot the clown. I'm pretty sure this is the one that we have to present the gun for. But we're gonna press and then press the other statement and come back. So you took the only pistol there and fired it? That's correct. And that pistol was this one, which was left at the crime scene? Good show! I see you too are a magician of sorts. And you're an idiot of sorts. Do you have any idea what you just said? I see the fire in your eyes as you glare as a witness. So how about heating up this trial a bit? These slow ballads bore me. I've got a hunch. But maybe that's all it is. Maybe I should ask about something else. Nah, mate. On second thought, let's run with this testimony for a while longer. So, you informed the police. What did you do then?
What do you suppose I did? Use my magic to levitate the mentor's corpse, perhaps?
I don't know, that's why I'm asking. Now please answer the question and skip the sarcasm.
After I made my report, I called the doctor and we returned to the room. While we waited for the police to arrive, we discussed stomach medicine.
We've confirmed this with the doctor. It all checks out. He praised Mr. Vallant's knowledge of stomach medicine, in fact.
It is an honor I do not deserve, but I accept.
Both of Magnifi's students received the same letter. Both admit to having gone to the hospital that night. 2 bullets were fired. One of them killed Magnifi. Time to find the cracks in his testimony. I'm gonna do a safe rating. Okay.
Objection!
According to the defendant, Zach Gramery, when he entered the room, there were 2 pistols on that table.
2?
One of those pistols he used to shoot the clown in the forehead. Then he left with it in his pocket. Of course, this is what he would say. Unlike the hapless clown, we must assume our defendant has some brains left in his head. Well, what about what Mr. Vallant has told us? You see, there's something about his testimony that doesn't make sense.
What might that be?
I told you, I took the pistol that was there and shot the clown. That's your story, at least. But the rifling marks tell a very different story, Mr. Vallant. Recall what Prosecutor Gavin told us. We compare the bullets taken from the victim's skull with the bullets fired from this gun. The rifling marks on the bullets were a perfect match. Ah. Mr. Vallant, if you fired that pistol, then you shot the victim in the forehead!
What? Well, this is all rather sudden.
Objection!
What have I done?
Prosecutor Gavin?
I owe the court an apology. Sorry. Sorry for what? You see, I was unaware that 2 of these unique pistols were crafted. The analysis of the rifling marks only proves the type of guns that fired them.
Objection!
But that's not what you told us before! You said you'd verified the murder weapon! Which is why I'm apologizing to you right now. Quite sincerely, I might add. Would you hold me accountable for a mistake made in my youth? That was just this morning! I am still young. And I might add, it wasn't really my fault. If the defendant had only admitted he took 1 pistol from the scene of the crime, we would not be having this pleasant discussion now.
Valiant Glamoury.
Yes, Your Honor.
You were presented to this court as a decisive witness, but you've proven to be more divisive than decisive. You see what I did there? It was very clever wordplay. Clever, don't interrupt. We have to focus on what I just said. It was very clever. But since everyone seems to be contingent on continuing the trial, I guess we'll continue.
You'll see in time. Just going to ignore what the judges said. Everyone's cool with that. We're just going to ignore it. The testimony so far has merely been a review of the facts. The proof comes next.
Care to elaborate, Prosecutor Gavin?
When Mr. Valent entered the hospital room, the victim had already been shot. As his next testimony will prove. Alright, the real fight is about to begin. Bring it.
Very well. The witness will now testify to the court. Help us determine who shot what.
Ugh, so much sexual tension. Just kiss! Just kiss already! I arrived in the hospital room at the appointed time, which is to say 11:20 p.m. After discovering the body, I fulfilled my obligation, then called in the doctor. The doctor examined the body before the police arrived. He was quite clear about the time of death, 11:10 p.m. And the one in the room at that time was my partner, not me.
Those times are rather close, you'll have to admit. We're talking about an alibi established over a matter of minutes. To use a 10-minute discrepancy as the basis of your alibi.
It's easy to explain in this situation here, Judge. For example, take our debut hit single, 13 Years Hard Time for Love. Cue to the song, press the play button, and it will play for 2 minutes 15 seconds. Do it 100 times, the result is the same. Their debut single was only 2 minutes and 15 seconds long? What a ripoff! Magic is a world of utmost precision. Hocus pocus. Requires admirable focus. Oh my god, Judge, I'm rhyming just like you did. You know, when you said decisive, divisive. I thought it was stupid before, but now that I've done it as well, I see that it's very hilarious. And it hurts that no one is laughing right now. So I guess I'll just return to the sentence. But know that, Judge, you have found a kindred spirit in me. I'll send you the link to my blog later. You remember I talked about the blog? Although that might have been in the future, because this is a flashback. Anyway, I'm getting out of sorts. And in the time of death determined by the doctor, there is an incontrovertible truth.
Very well. The prosecution warns us that we're dealing with rather precise times, and we can expect the cross-examination to require the same level of precision.
I would hope the defense refrains from its customarily broad, sweeping accusations, lest we blur the focus this case so clearly demands.
Point taken. Baseless remarks will result in a penalty. Carry on, Mr. Wright.
Carry on. Right. I'm right. Mr. Right is me, but I'm also right. Do you get it? I don't think this joke has ever been made before. Maybe I'm the first one. The first one. I can't even speak. Anyway. I wonder, is it going to punish us for pressing? Is that what they're saying? 11:20 p.m. Can you prove that's when you arrived?
Alas, such a feat may be beyond even the great Valen. For there was no one in that room but Magnifi. He was departed after a fashion.
I have here defendant Zach Grammary's sworn deposition. I snuck into his room that night at the appointed time. It was 10 minutes before I left the room, and the victim was still alive.
The time indicated by this letter to Zach was 11:05 p.m.
Exactly. Which means the witness could not have entered the room before 11:15. Because his partner was still in the middle of his crime.
I see someone did their arithmetic homework.
You see, the defendant himself has corroborated the witness's testimony. Does that all make sense? I'm just gonna enter the... Hold on. 11:20. Okay. 11:05. Picture. Okay. When was he supposed to get his shots? Here's paper. I've been watching the shows, no sign of use. Okay. Let's not go for it for now. I don't see any problem with that testimony.
If you say so. Let's continue, shall we?
Sometimes the most magical thing of all is the truth. You walk in on a murder. The first thing you do is shoot the clown?
The disciple does what the disciple must. My mentor's request, without reason, had caused for me a surfeit of sorrow. But what would I, Valant, be now without him? May the soul of Magnifi the Great find greater peace above. This I muttered to myself as I pulled that lonely trigger.
In any case, I believe this is nothing more than what we have already learned. I'm still waiting for one of those right moments, Heir Attorney.
May I remind you that baseless remarks will earn penalties. Proceed with that in mind.
Yes, Your Honor. What a pain this is turning out to be. Did the doctor say anything concerning the cause of death?
Why, yes. I believe he screamed, "My God! He's been shot in the head!" It doesn't take a doctor to notice that. I probably would have screamed the same thing.
And I would have penned the requiem that arose in my soul at that horrid sight. Whatever happened to good old-fashioned investigation? In any case, I believe this is nothing more than what we have already learned. I'm still waiting for one of those right moments, Heir Attorney. We've already... We're just gonna see the same line every single time. Okay. Okay. I'll do the other two presses, and hopefully we'll get something more interesting. I don't think I'm stepping out on a limb to say I have some doubts about this. How could the doctor be so precise with the time?
We do usually only get an estimated time of death, true. I'm not sure I've heard of a verified time of death. Magic revels in making the complex appear simple, but reality is the opposite. What appears complex in this case is a simple matter of subtraction. I see another person has done their arithmetic homework.
The point here is the IV the victim was taking. It's quite visible in the photograph of the scene. Recall what we had heard earlier about the victim, Magnifi Grammarly's schedule. Every night at 11, Magnifi took an IV drip for 30 minutes.
I can see the IV bag right there, yes.
Now look a little closer. Follow the tube down from the bag to the end.
Ah, the needle's been removed.
Doubtlessly it fell out when he was shot.
That would seem to be the case.
When the needle comes out, the IV no longer drips. Ah, you could just measure the remaining IV liquid. Precisely. The IV liquid functions, for our purposes, as an hourglass of sorts. This is how the doctor determines the time of death. From the amount remaining in the bag, it was determined that the IV had stopped 10 minutes after the administration began. IV report added to the court record.
And so it was, when I, Valant, entered that room. 10 minutes had passed since that horrible crime was committed. And this is proof. Well, Mr. Wright.
Did that seem important? A little bit. Well, seeing how it is the biggest clue we have to the time of death, I'd say it's very important.
Agreed. It would be hard to imagine a more precise way to determine the time. Behold, the power of arithmetic! Very well. The witness will add this detail to his testimony.
Sometimes, the most magical thing of all is the truth. Okay. Remaining IV liquid proves my innocence. Yeah, but it hadn't been used, had it? It hadn't been bloody used. Wait. So, that is the needle, isn't it? Wait, no, but that's the insulin needle. So what? They're saying that the IV drip comes at the same time as the insulin shot? Is that what they're saying? Okay, well I'm gonna press it anyway, and then we'll come back. Did you notice the IV yourself, by any chance?
When first I entered that room, the stench of gunpowder assailed me. Next, the mark of death upon my mentor's forehead. And then, his left arm did I spy, a rose drooping and wilted. Its thorn discarded the... Guys, ignore me. Usually I'm so, flashy and cool, and I spin my little cane. But this time I messed up the sentence, and if we could all just pretend that I didn't, that would save my ego from a death. Here we go. Its thorn, the discarded IV needle.
Knocked from the vein by the force of the shot. Luckily for you. If that IV had not been there, why, you might be a suspect.
Indubitably so. I might say it's thanks to my lucky color.
Your lucky color?
Indeed. Even today I wear it proudly upon my suspect self. For it always, without fail, brings me luck. Why, when Zack and Valent won their first Magician's Grand Prix... Yes! The very one held by the Association of International Magicians! I was adored in this attire then too, and our trophy, a bust. Ah, what a day that was!
My throat! 1 second. Woo! Oh, I was really hoping to finish this whole bit, because I usually do shorts, and I, chop up little bits. But this is great, him just being like, yeah, you know what, fuck case 2 in Justice for All, don't know if any of you have seen that, but it's the one with many PDFs, and I will leave it at that. Oh, 1 second. Excuse me. That is one trip down memory lane no one needs.
My lucky color, yes indeed. And that IV too. I say I think 'twas huge, especially for me. Valent. That does seem to be the case, indeed. Well, Mr. Wright, any thoughts on this testimony?
Valent sure looks happy with himself. Okay, how about this lucky color testimony? Saying it was yellow? Is that what he's saying? He's green, mate. He's bloody green. It certainly sounds like your lucky colors brought you plenty of luck. But not this time. Mr. Valent, your lucky colors betrayed you.
I'm afraid you've lost me.
Your Honor, the witness's testimony just now clearly contradicts the evidence.
What? Please recall my warning at the beginning of this cross-examination, Mr. Wright. Baseless accusations will be duly penalized. I do hope this latest accusation is well-based.
Don't worry, I've got all your bases right here.
Very well, let's hear the defense's claim.
I guess we'll do a safety, maybe.
Where is your evidence that contradicts what Mr. Valent has told us?
The crime scene tells all, Your Honor.
A photo of the crime scene?
Well, the stalk of color has me yearning for black and white, clear-cut simplicity. Tell us, right? Just where is the contradiction in this photo? My pleasure. And I assure you, it's quite simple. But I can't promise anything in black and white.
Let's hear what Mr. Wright has to say. What in this photo contradicts the witness's testimony?
I mean, it's gonna be this. Valent Grammary! Let's get one thing straight about your lucky color. It's yellow, yes?
Kind of takes the mystery out of it, but yes. Something wrong with yellow, Mr. Wright?
Yes, there is. Decisively wrong, in fact. Take another look at this photo of the crime scene.
What's this? confusion, doubt. Tell us, what do your elderly eyes spy? Even my elderly eyes can see a problem here, Mr. Valent. Look at that IV bag. Hack! What is this? What foul magic?
It would be hard to call the IV liquid yellow. And I'm afraid no magic was involved in the taking of this photograph.
Allah, no! Order! What does this mean?
Objection!
This is some kind of mistake.
Yes, Prosecutor Gavin. Your witness's mistake.
The greener they are, the harder they fall. I suppose there's no substitute for experience. Valen Grammary, as you reminded us several times, your lucky color is yellow, but the IV is clearly not.
Well,
This contradiction can mean only one thing!
Objection!
And to think, you almost had me. I see your true colors now, Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright.
something you'd like to tell us, Prosecutor Gavin? As far as this court can tell, the witness's testimony does not contradict the evidence.
Yes, a contradiction. One that I shall be pleased to hand right back to Mr. Wright. How do you mean? How? Because the witness has made no mistakes. I agree, at a glance, the IV liquid does appear sort of greenish yellow. But I assure you, the liquid itself is quite yellow.
Yellow liquid? How can you say that? So as I can tell from this photo, it's green.
Yes, but what color is the IV bag itself? The bag? You mean the plastic bag on the hook?
It looks like I want to say light blue.
Precisely. Figured it out yet? Put the yellow liquid in a blue bag and you get green. This, incidentally, is the liquid's true color.
I see. Your explanation does have the ring of truth to it.
Objection!
As I thought. There's no substitute for experience, Prosecutor Gavin. What? You may tell a good tale, but you've just proven something rather grave. For you, that is. Grave? The liquid in the IV is yellow, yes. But how did this witness know that? It's quite unnatural when you think about it. You did think about it, didn't you? Ugh. Your Honor, the defense requests an explanation from the witness. At the scene of the crime, the IV liquid appears to be green. So let me ask, how did the witness know the IV liquid was actually yellow? Alakazomagi!
Order! Mr. Archer will explain this at once! The witness clearly knew the color of the IV liquid, so I'm sure it means something. But what?
I can think of only one possibility, Your Honor. The witness, Valen Grammary, has testified that the IV liquid is yellow because... What? Yeah. There was a reason the IV liquid looked yellow to the witness. I bet. What?
Mr. Wright, that I bet at the end there, it worries me. Am I right in the assumption that you hope there's a reason, not no?
Perhaps. Yes. Definitely.
But allow me to cross that hope as gently and gentlemanly as I can.
One more chance, please. I can think of only one possibility, Your Honor. Okay. Because it looked... But I don't... Okay. Alright, you know what? I'm gonna fucking save it, because I don't understand the wording of this question. He'd seen it before? From the facts before us, the answer is clear. The witness knew that the IV liquid was yellow. Why? Because he'd seen it before. But not inside the blue bag we see in the photo. He saw the liquid by itself in a clear, colorless bag.
I suppose he would have had to, but I'm still not clear as to what all of this means.
Ask yourself, why would he know if he didn't work at a hospital? That's where you'll find your meaning, Your Honor.
Objection!
I'm afraid I find nothing. So what if he knew the IV liquid's color? Leaves it getting excited over absolutely nothing to our teeny bopper fans, yeah?
Objection!
The IV liquid is the only evidence proving the time of death. A 30-minute hourglass with 20 minutes of sand remaining. Your claim, Prosecutor Gavin.
I remember it well.
However, there's a critical difference between an hourglass and an IV bag.
Wait, I know! An hourglass uses sand, but an IV bag uses liquid! I'm right?
As much as it pains me to say this, Your Honor, no. Unlike the sands through an hourglass, IV liquid enters the patient's body. At which point, like magic, it disappears. However, what if the amount of IV liquid had increased? You couldn't tell, could you? After all, there's no way of knowing how much went in.
Objection!
Let me get this straight, White. The sayings that the witness watered down the IV bag of the witness? Sorry, the victim? Damn it. Not with water, but with IV liquid. That's how you knew the IV liquid was yellow.
Now wait. I said wait! How might an amateur such as myself essay to perform such a task?
Objection!
I'm an amateur too. Well, I can pour water into a cup.
Objection!
I'm afraid there's quite a big difference between a cup and an IV bag. Quite. Can you prove our witness is capable of such a feat?
He has a point, amateurs. I at least would have had some difficulty pouring IV liquid into that bag.
You don't need to be an expert to see the look on the witness's face. He added liquid to that IV to throw off the time of death. I tire of these fairy tales lacking evidence.
Well, Mr. Wright, any solid evidence to bring us back down to earth?
Valid grammary. I'm afraid your magic won't serve you well in a life of crime.
Might I ask what you're strongly suggesting?
Magic relies on props, and props become evidence. Our witness was certainly able to increase the amount of IV liquid in the bag. All he had to do was work a little magic, and the prop was... Has been washed and so there's no sound issues. Okay.
The victim's syringe.
It's the perfect prop for the magically increasing IV trick. And easy enough for an amateur to use. What kind of evidence is that? The syringe was clean, not a trace of liquid in it.
Objection!
And don't you find that odd, Prosecutor Gavin? What? The victim had the syringe to administer his insulin shots. There should have been traces of insulin left inside. Well, valid grammary. As you pointed out yourself, the IV liquid makes the perfect clock. One that you could manipulate at will! Alakazam!
I do believe, well, with this being his first, that the burden of this trial has been a bit too much to bear for Prosecutor Gavin. I'm afraid that, while there is a doubt as to the amount of IV liquid in that bag, the time of death cannot be proven. And that brings our trial to a close for today.
Well, maybe I can squeeze an extra day out of this. I can do a little much-needed investigation work.
I see there are no objections. What is it?
Truly, there's no substitute for experience. Nothing blinds one to the truth so effectively. Avert to the wise. Underestimate the young, and they'll sweep your feet out from under you. In a way you never ever expected. You see? I know exactly what you're thinking. What's he talking about? You say the witness used the syringe to manipulate the level of the IT liquid. But there's no proof. There's no proof he didn't do it either. Yes, quite true. Huh? He's admitting it? Nor was this witness quite as decisive as I'd hoped. This I admit. After all, if I linger in the past and the future holds so much.
You have something in mind, Prosecutor Gavin?
Ooh, fair judge. I have another way to prove my case. With evidence, no less.
What's this?
This is the victim Magnifi Grammary's diary. Diary? After going into the hospital, Magnifi began writing his memoirs, it seems. The story of his birth, his startling debut, and of meeting his disciples. It seems he intended for the last chapter to end, quite appropriately, with his death. Wait, that book doesn't say what the reason was, does it? The reason why his disciples couldn't refuse his last request? Sadly, it does not. What's important here is on the last page. Apparently, the victim wrote in his journal that night, even after the IV had begun at 11 PM. Let's read it, shall we?
This does appear to have been written just before his death. The court accepts this into evidence.
Magnifi's diary added to the court record. Read the very last part with particular care. This journal may end here, it may go on, but not long. That depends on his hand. Of course, by his. He refers to our defendant, Zach Grammery.
That would make sense, yes. He was the first scheduled visitor after all.
But look at what he said before that. This journal may end here, or it may go on. It may go on. Magnific Grammarly intended to write again. That is, if Zach Grammarly didn't pull the trigger. I see the defense understands the meaning of this. The victim's diary does not go on. It ends. Because Magnifi's life was brought to an end by the defendant, Zach Grammarly.
Order! Prosecutor Gavin! Are you certain that Magnific Grammarly wrote this?
There is no mistaking his handwriting.
Well, this does seem to be significant. According to this, Magnifi did intend to continue his diary. Yet if his diary ended here, which plainly it did...
Since the one who pulls the trigger was the first visitor, Zach Grammarly. Well, how'd you like me now, right? Still too green for your tastes, hmm? He's right about the diary being pretty clear. Still, I find it hard to believe that he'd overlook such an obvious problem with this precious evidence.
Well, Mr. Wright, the witness's testimony we heard was lacking. But put together with this evidence, it seems quite sufficient for a case.
If the diary is accepted like this, the trial's over. Maybe it's time for me to show them something. I'm left with no choice but to show my own evidence.
What? You have some evidence that overturns this diary?
It's not too late to rethink this and avoid more embarrassment.
Very well, please show us your evidence, Mr. Wright.
Incidentally, don't even think of showing us this diary I've just shown the court. Now that we've come this far, I hope you have something a little more decisive. Show us evidence that proves the victim continued writing his diary. Alright, I'd be happy to. The decisive evidence proving that the diary didn't end with this page is... Okay, so I'm gonna very quickly... I think we're gonna continue playing, but I'm just gonna very quickly pause recording so that the way I record on my PS5 is that you know what? We're just gonna jump to it. I'm not gonna go into it. Give me 1 sec, y'all. And we're back. Okay. Wait, no, we're not. I forgot to put the mic in the right place. Silly me. Okay. And now we're back. I'm gonna say it's this notebook page. First, take a close look at this diary. Note that a page has clearly been ripped out.
What's this? I hadn't noticed that at all.
That's why we're still here talking about this. As it just so happens, I have here what I believe to be the missing page.
Oh look, I don't believe it!
Looking at this page, it's hard to imagine that the first visitor that night shot Magnifi Grammary. That's the defense's position.
Great, let me see that. What in Sam Hill? Why, this is the continuation of the victim's diary!
Note the torn edge of the page. It's a perfect match with the torn remains of the last page in Magnifi's diary.
Quite remarkable.
Would you care to explain what all this means, Herr Attorney? The diary continued after his first visitor came, which means that the victim was still alive after Zach Grammary left, leaving no one to take his life but the second visitor. Valen Grammary!
No!
No!
The handwriting too matches that on the other pages. This is without a doubt the genuine article. But wait! That's impossible! That old man couldn't have written that!
Objection!
Finally. You just couldn't resist, could you, right? Resist what? Presenting solid evidence? Judge?
Yes, Prosecutor Gavin.
Might I request we put the current cross-examination on hold? The prosecution would like to call a new witness.
But Prosecutor Gavin, this evidence overturns the current witnesses.
I ask only to put it on hold. Please. My new witness has a very, very important piece of testimony to give. 5 minutes, no more. I promise, Your Honor.
Well, if you put it that way. Mr. Wright, what's your take on this?
Well, Your Honor, judging from his enthusiasm, we'll have to hear this new testimony sooner or later anyway. So, it might as well be sooner.
Then, though this is highly, highly irregular, we will put the current cross-examination on hold. The witness may step down. Now, Prosecutor Gavin, please bring this surprise witness to the courtroom.
And I had a bad feeling just then. That ripped out page was too obvious. He must have known. And I should have known it was a bad sign all around.
Holding trial with no audience is a first, even for me, Prosecutor Gavin.
I beg the court's understanding. But I had to make a judiciary deal with the witness to secure his testimony. A judiciary deal? The details of his testimony may have some legal ramifications, shall we say. I thought it best to contain the information to this room.
Very well. And you are the witness, I gather?
Yes. Yes, sir. State your name and occupation for the record. My name's Drew Misham. I'm a painter.
A painter? You are somehow related to this case?
No, well, not per se. I have one simple question for this witness. Mr. Misham, was it? Do you know what this is? Oh, yeah, I know it well. How's that possible? Have you seen this diary page somewhere before? Yeah. I mean, I made it. You... what? You made it? Yes. You might call it one of my works. The prosecutor's office received a tip-off yesterday. Illegal evidence has been prepared for the trial of Zach Gramery.
Illegal evidence?
I initiated an investigation and found this witness. A painter to the world at large, Drew Misham has another side, you might say. He is skilled in making perfect reproductions of certain things. Forgeries, in other words. Forgeries?
Well, so are we to understand that this page here is...
A fake, prepared by a certain defense attorney.
Objection!
Hold it! I didn't prepare this evidence!
Objection!
Ah, the attorney speaks. Something about this page, I presume. But what is he saying? It makes no sense. After all, it was you who presented this evidence to us, Phoenix Wright!
Witness! Mr. Misham, was it? Who requested this forgery? Who is your client?
That... I don't know. What? Most of my clients prefer to remain anonymous, even to me. I make the items they want and receive my payment. That's the extent of my contact with them.
Objection!
But... There's no proof this is a fake! It's a fake. Huh? To avoid just this sort of problem, I always put a special mark on my works. I can say, without a doubt, this is mine.
Mr. Wright, you have just presented illegal evidence to this court. My court.
He was careless of me. That's all I can say.
Oh boy! Here!
What's this?
I don't know! I just got it over there in the hall! He told me to give it to the old boy in the blue suit with the spiky hair! He said it was really important!
It was all a trap. A fatal trap.
Mr. Wright,
Yes,
do you have an explanation for yourself?
if I did, would the court hear it?
Probably not. Forging evidence is a serious crime, and presenting it in court, a serious mistake. A fatal mistake for an attorney.
Fatal too, perhaps, for your client, I fear. Tell me, what kind of defendant relies on forged evidence? The answer is quite clear. A guilty one!
Objection!
Your Honor, wait! I understand that presenting forged evidence in court is a serious crime, but you cannot hold my client responsible for actions I undertook as an individual!
I am sorry, Mr. Wright.
Your Honor? That's a close call, I dare say. If the prosecutor's office hadn't received that hot tip, everything would have gone the way you wanted it to, yeah? I even gave you a chance. Too bad you decided not to think before embarrassing yourself.
I see no need for further discussion on this matter. Special witness dismissed. Mr. Attorney.
Yes.
Could I ask your name?
Phoenix Wright.
Mr. Wright, I have seen and studied many people, but none like you. I'll remember you, Mr. Wright. Oh, I deeply regret having to declare a verdict in this way. This trial is over. You have the right to find a new attorney and make an appeal. However, this court must. Your Honor. Yes, Mr. Zack. There is one thing I wish to make clear. Today, in this courtroom, you cannot declare me guilty. It is impossible. I'm afraid the defendant is quite mistaken. I most certainly have the authority to declare a verdict on you. Except, tell me, how do you plan on announcing your verdict when your defendant does not exist? Doesn't exist? What are you talking about? I am talking about this!
Mr. Enigma! The defendant's escaped! Find him, quick!
Bailiff! Close all exits from the building!
On the double! You must not be allowed to escape! That day, in that courtroom, a miracle occurred. The defendant, Shadi Enigma, aka Zack Gramarye, did not just escape from the court. He literally, unbelievably, vanished. Right before the bailiff's eyes. No one ever saw him again. Not since that day.
This is the Gramarye miracle!
No verdict was declared. After all, the defendant didn't exist. That's how it happened. The trial of magician Zack Gramarye vanished, along with him, for all eternity. The mysteries that remained behind were all solved, however, but not until 7 years later. Exciting, exciting, what's gonna happen? We don't know. And I think that's where we're gonna leave it for today, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been really fun doing this with you all. Make sure to look after yourselves, get your water, stay hydrated, stay gay, like, comment, share, subscribe, do all those good things. Thank you for being here, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye, everybody.